Hey, don't those Dutch know how to have a good time? They partied on last night after Max Verstappen's amazing win at the Zandvoort track. I was there for the whole 4 days, and I'm going to tell you what I saw in 8 seconds' time. Hey good people, I'm recording this from Brianza, just down the road from Monza as we get ready for the 14th round of the 2021 season. But let's talk about Zandvoort. Firstly, the fans, my gosh, don't they know how to enjoy themselves? Now, I imagine most of you weren't there, so let me paint the picture. They're all decked out in orange. They're all enjoying themselves. Plenty have been enjoying a beer or two. 75,000 people in the stands. Everybody had to have a seat. You couldn't stand. There were queues of 100 odd people waiting to get into the toilet, people waiting to buy food. Come race time, they were all in their seats and they were willing Max Verstappen onto his first home race win. Yes, there were plenty of flares and smoke, particularly after the race, and also on the warm-up lap, but this was the best paddock of the year by a mile. I'll tell you why. If you watch my Thursday video, you'll have an idea. There are two paddocks. There's one behind the garages in pit lane, and there's one about 250 metres away for the hospitality suites. So the drivers would go from one paddock to the other paddock. Some would walk, some would take a scooter, and here's Esteban Ocon doing a tandem with his press officer, James Ranson. Antonio Giovinazzi used an electric scooter to go backwards and forwards, but then a number of drivers rode bicycles. Lando was riding a Pure bicycle, which is a company owned by his father. You had Seb riding his push bike, Pierre on a two-wheeler, George was on a two-wheeler, Perez, although I didn't actually see him ride from paddock to paddock, but he did his track walk on a bicycle. And Lewis Hamilton? I never saw Lewis go from one paddock to the other. Every morning he would come in and he would go straight to the paddock behind the garages and pretty much, I think, stayed there the whole day. Everybody warned me that the traffic to and from the track would be horrendous. It was amazingly good. In fact, I don't think, yes, there was, on Sunday night we had to stop for maybe a minute because of heavy traffic, but otherwise it was perfect. So hats off to the organisers. I think there was something like 90 or 95% of people took public transport or rode their bikes. Now, I know that the Dutch are big on their bikes, but I didn't realise they have these huge bike parking garages in the centre of the city. Some of these hold 10,000 plus bikes. And what about the music at the track? It was pumping, it was thumping, there were sing-alongs. I've not seen a Grand Prix that had as much buzz as this one. I've seen better races, yeah, by a long way. But in terms of atmosphere, it had it all over almost every other race. Now, some people will say, what about Italy with the Tifosi? Yeah, I think it was better than that. Now, this week, we've got 25,000 spectators at the race, so it's not going to have quite the buzz, but I imagine they'll all be in red. Let's talk about Lewis's fashion, because I think Lewis will wear red on the Thursday of this race. Thursday of last race, he wore the orange to perhaps curry some favour with the locals, but have a look at the other outfits he wore on Friday and on Saturday and on Sunday. I love the stuff he wears. A lot of people make jokes and say he looks like a clown, but I like it. As you know, Holland is famous for their clogs, and I was surprised to see that this pair were given to Lance Stroll. Now, the promoter, the organiser, often gives gifts to each of the drivers, and the gift this year was a pair of clogs, all hand-painted. As I said, this one hand-painted for Lance. It's always a joy to see Jackie Stewart at the track. He's always so well-dressed, always flies the flag for his sponsors, being Heineken and Rolex, and he was wearing this beautiful Rolex on the weekend. And interestingly, he always has a minder with him, somebody who just runs interference if need be, and keeps a lookout for Jackie. Still sprightly, still entertaining, and very much adored. Let's jump to Max's win. Very popular win, obviously, with the locals. After the race, lots of smoke canisters going off, some really nice photographic opportunities. And the thing is, we get that whole track to ourselves. In the past, there would be most of the crowd down on the track, but of course with COVID, that is not a possibility. The track is all ours. It was great to see the Red Bull crew celebrate Max's win on the fence here with a sign. And well after the race had finished, they had a celebration ceremony. I'd like to tell you I got photos, but I just got to watch it from upstairs in the media centre. And the moment Max crossed the line, I had a nice picture. I thought, right, I'll use that one as my picture for the win. And it was only because the internet was so bloody slow that I didn't put that shot up. There was a better shot that came later of him here, standing with the flag behind him, and that's the one I ended up running. Now, a couple of you have asked, how do I get it up so quickly? I've done a video on that, but in brief, I simply press a button on the back of the camera. It goes through a dongle to a Wi-Fi router, which sends it to the other side of the world. My office automatically processes it and then sends it back to a Dropbox. I copy it out of the Dropbox, do a basic edit on Lightroom on my phone, add a watermark and put it up. Now, if the internet plays ball, I could do it in 2 minutes, but most of the time it's about 5. I was thrilled on both quali and on race day that the crowd applauded Lewis Hamilton, and he applauded the crowd as well. And I thought that was a nice touch, because after Silverstone there was some doubt that the Dutch fans would be as nice to Lewis as he perhaps would have liked. We probably all know that Daniel Ricciardo is secretly a Max fan, but he really wore his heart on his sleeve on Sunday when he wore one of these orange capes that were handed out to all the spectators. I think there were 20 or 30,000 of them given out, originally done for Euro 2020, but they feature the lion on the back here, which is Max's symbol. So in my mind, Daniel was supporting Max by wearing that, and certainly the crowd lapped that up. With any sort of luck, I'll be doing another video later this week on what the drivers drove to the track. But I did go and have a look at Charles's car, and I was miffed as to why on the front dashboard of his car he had these Carlos Sainz signed cards. I didn't get a chance to ask him as he left, although I did see both leave in the early evening on Sunday, and that's a great time to catch these drivers because it's quite quiet. But I forgot to ask him about that, but yeah, it got my attention. Speaking of Carlos, what about his crash on Saturday? I can tell you, I was 6 meters from that crash, and I heard the screech, and then I looked around, and this car's coming towards me. I wasn't shooting, unfortunately. I'd packed up my stuff from one spot, and I was moving around the outside of that, which is actually on the inside of the track of turn 3, to go to another position. And while it sounded loud and serious, in the end it wasn't too bad. Once again, going back to Thursday's video, I had those stroop waffles. Now, Daniel Ricciardo actually rolled a packet of those down the bank on the last corner on, I think it was Thursday when he was doing his track walk. And now the locals tell me that's what they call that corner, Stroop Waffle Corner, or Stroop Waffle. The Dutch are so passionate about Max Verstappen, and they do some crazy things, like there was this ferry out at sea lit up at night on one of the nights with Max's name. And that got the attention of a lot of the world's media who'd hung around after dark. And the other thing I love, and I never saw this, but the street signs around the area had changed their street speed limits from 30 to 33 kilometres an hour. Now, if you have a close look at this picture here of Lewis, he's wearing some orange sunglasses. Now, I've been told that he actually asked for those to be made in orange just to wear to this race. I also had some pictures sent to me from Calpesh, and thank you for these, but one of them caught my attention. This young fella picking up rubbish in the stand on a qualifying day. That was inspired by Sebastian Vettel doing it after the Silverstone GP. And isn't that the power of such a simple gesture when youngsters do this sort of thing? And as anybody knows, that's the greatest way to change people's behaviour. Start with young children. They will do that over time, and importantly, put pressure on their parents to do the same thing. One of my most popular posts of the week is Women of the Paddock. And this week I had a divine group of 10 women, including Jerry Halliwell, the ex-Spice Girl, Ginger Spice, married now to Christian Horner. We had one of the Alfa Romeo team members, Carmen Montero Munt, wearing a brightly coloured, long, flowing cardigan. This young lady, who was a guest of Haas, I believe, and I know that because I've zoomed in on her pass, and she's actually had Mick Schumacher sign it. This is Frida Suzette, who was a friend of Sandra Jivacek, Nicholas Latifi's girlfriend. A marshal out there sweeping up after a crash on turn 3. A local journalist from Amsterdam, an invited guest, the sister of the winner of the 2021 Dutch Grand Prix, Max Verstappen's sister Victoria, and one of the Mercedes press officers. Women of the Paddock goes up every Monday on Instagram, and it's one of my biggest posts for the week, normally getting a reach of something like 160,000 people. On the subject of girlfriends, we also had Sandra Jivacek, Nicholas Latifi's girlfriend. Linda Morselli was in with Fernando Alonso. Charlotte Sine joined Charles at the track. I didn't see Carola Perez, but I know she was there from some social media posts. And Kelly Piquet also was in attendance. On the subject of Max, for the first time I've seen him be very protected at the track, and maybe it was because there were so many Dutch fans there. He would be driven either on a scooter or in his car right up to the swipe gates, which is something that Lewis has done in the past, and I don't think any other driver has done it. So maybe that marks a change now, or maybe it's just for that particular race. I think sometimes I get a little jaded about F1, oh, you're off to another race, but this was one I've looked forward to for a long time, as I look forward to Saudi Arabia. And for me to come here and see these fans just take over the joint and make a noise, it's something, if you go back to, say, Portugal, where we had no crowd and we could leave the track and there was absolutely no traffic on the road, this is such a big difference. And it's what I remember from 2019 and loved so much. Hey, thank you very much for enjoying this video, which I hope you have. If so, please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't done so, and hit the notifications button. A reminder too that this week I'll be putting up some new raw images from the race. For all of you members of the channel, you'll find all of my digital images for editorial or personal use at prostarpics.com. Get yourself or a friend or relative one of my F1 photo books. They're available at kimellman.com and will be sent almost anywhere in the world. And lastly, for my best images live from the track and all during the week, I urge you to follow me on Instagram at kimellman. Thanks for watching and stay passionate. Oh, not again. What goes on?